My name is Dr. Shivon Bell-Jarvis. I'm a consultant pediatrician at the Celeste Bird Medical Center. I work within the pediatric department. I'm an advocate for change, a champion of creativity, and passionate about the performing arts. But at the end of the day, I am keen about always putting my best foot forward. So my role as a pediatrician is to ensure that each child has the best opportunity of having the best life. I do antenatal counseling. That simply means that I prepare parents as to what they can expect when their baby is born. I examine babies when they're well. I care for them when they're sick. And I see children all the way up to the age of 16 years. So there's no typical workday in the life of a pediatrician. It really does depend on if I am on emergency duty. If I'm not on emergency duty, then my workday typically begins at about 8:39, where I see my patients, explain to the parents what is happening, and then facilitate any questions that may arise. Of course, emergencies do come up throughout the day, which means that I may be running down to the emergency room or sometimes going to an emergency in the operating theater where babies are sometimes born. But for the most part, I strive to examine my patients, make sure that they have a treatment plan in place for the day, and update parents so that they can be informed, empowered, and recognize what is happening with their child. I think I was chosen to be a pediatrician. It actually is a calling. I remember one day passing the Golden Grove Primary School, and if you're familiar with that school, just outside of the gate there's a tree that is bent. And I remember my mom pointing my attention to that tree and saying, you know, if someone had tried to straighten that tree when the tree was very young or tender, then it likely would have been a more straight tree. And for me, that spoke volumes. If I can make changes at an opportune time in a child's life, then it likely means that that change will follow that child throughout life. And healthy children often will become healthy adults. Children are fun. You know, they rarely pretend. When they're sick, they're sick. It's very obvious. And when they're better, they're bouncing off the walls. And guess what? Even though we tend to care for children, we care for the parents as well, because the parents are often very stressed out. So we often have this joke that we have two patients, the child as well as the parent. So once the child is much better, the parent is often much better. And that's what makes pediatrics so rewarding. The fact that you can see a child from being quite ill, sometimes even at death's door, and then coming out at the end of the day back to their usual selves. I always go above and beyond for every patient, because I believe, irrespective of your race, creed, gender, financial background, ability, that everyone should have the best opportunity offered to them available. And so even when I am not on call, if a child runs into trouble, you better believe I'm going to be there. Once I'm aware, whether it be that a parent calls me, a bystander calls me, or the physician calls me, I make it my duty to go out and assist. Because sometimes a different perspective may just bring the answer that we're looking for. And so I go above and beyond for everyone. I am the proud mother of 3 girls, Mariah, Jazara, and Alexandra, 7, 5, and 9 months. I don't know if the boy will come, but we'll see what the future holds. And of course, I'm in love with Mr. Jermaine Glenroy Jarvis, my high school sweetheart. You know, in being a physician, it's very important to have a life outside of medicine, and they really are my life. I must speak to the support that my parents also give, because it really does take a community, not only to raise a child, but to support a professional. There are many days when I would miss special days where I have to rush out, you know, from an outing. But at the end of the day, because my family is an understanding family and they're supportive, then I'm able to get through things way better. I love singing. You know, that really brings joy to my day. And it's something that persons looking at me probably would never guess, but I love singing. I'm a bit extra, so persons can probably guess the performing arts aspect of things. But singing, I'm an alto singer. You know, I used to sing for the University Chorale, University Mona, Jamaica. And I just pride myself in bringing joy to others and sing a smile on others' face through the songs that I deliver. I really enjoy working with my coworkers. It makes the day seamless. Teamwork is really the dream work, and I'm so appreciative of them because without them, this would not have been possible. You know, as a physician, being on emergency duty, as a consultant, you have the opportunity to take calls from home. But taking calls from home does mean that you have to be able to respond in a very quick manner. And it's not uncommon for you to be sleeping and for you to get a call to say, we need you immediately. And you have to basically get up and be at the hospital sometimes within less than 5 minutes. Again, you have to be very controlled. You have to have, you know, a sort of method to your madness, so to speak. You have to be the one who has a level head on, because at the end of the day, you want to ensure that the patient comes out with a good outcome. You want to make sure that the persons who are assisting in the care of the patient are safe. And you want to ensure that whatever decision that you make, even though it is an emergent setting, that it is one that is the best decision at the time and in your local context, and that can stand up to scrutiny at the end of the day. So for me, I try to be very composed. I try to identify what the exact problem is, and I address the problems. Once the problems are addressed, then you will have a good outcome. I must say, however, that we don't always end up winning the battle, and that is one of the downsides of the profession of medicine. We do sometimes, irrespective of our best efforts, lose patients. You know, it's very hard to tell a family that, you know, your child has passed, your child is no longer with us. And it's very difficult for you to be the one who is composed in the room as you relay the news. So that is one part of being a pediatrician, being a physician, that I do not enjoy. But at the end of the day, I strive to comfort my parents. I allow them to go through the grieving process. Yes, sometimes there's guilt. Yes, sometimes there's blame. But at the end of the day, I try to stand with my parents, encouraging them along the way and helping them to understand why the outcome did occur. What I often do, if I'm in a challenging situation and I recognize that I may likely lose a child, I call the parent in and allow them to see us resuscitating or trying our best to bring the child back. Some persons see that as being traumatic, but I see it as letting them know that we've gone above and beyond and we just were not successful, unfortunately. I would say that being a physician, as previously mentioned, is a calling. It's not just a career. It's one in which you are accountable because you're dealing with persons' lives and you must make a difference. It's one which calls for sacrifice. You know, many times we have sleepless nights, and it's not only when you're on call, you're always on call. You know, you always get concerns from parents. What can I do? You know, am I overreacting? So it's something that it's not an 8 to 4 job featured by holidays. Oh, I'm going to take Christmas off, or Easter is coming up, you know. The call really does go above and beyond the hour. It goes above and beyond the paycheck. At the end of the day, you're making a difference in someone's life, and that is what matters. So think about it keenly. Usually when you ask a student, why do you want to become a pediatrician? The answer would be, I love babies. I love to play with babies, but it's above and beyond playing with them. And so think keenly about it. You know, you don't have to be the most brilliant to make a difference. You know, I don't see myself as the brightest spark, but I do see myself as a persistent spark. And for me, that has made the difference. So in terms of my educational background, I would have gone to the Seventh-day Adventist primary and secondary school. And that's where I met the love of my life, by the way. And then I would have moved on to the Antigua State College, and then to the University of the West Indies, Mona, where I've gotten my Bachelor of Medical Sciences, my Bachelor of Medicine, Bachelor of Surgery, as well as my postgraduate degree as a Doctor of Medicine in Pediatrics. Pursuing medicine is not an easy feat. It does take time and also takes finances. My family was never one that was a rich family, but I made it my duty to ensure that I attained scholarships. I would have been in the top 3 for the common entrance examinations, And many persons say, you're not moving from Adventist school? I'm like, no. My parents are like, no, she's staying right there, and then going through to 5th form, I would have been the top student for the CXC examinations. And moving into the Antigua State College, I would have been second to the top performer. We were like neck and neck, but I was still able to get a scholarship for medicine at the University of the West Indies, Mona. And I was grateful because we were just heading to the bank to sign off on a loan when I would have received the call that you were successful in receiving a scholarship. And even then, you can't be involved in everything that everybody is doing. Even when my friends were going out, I had to beat the books because I knew that I needed assistance with study. And so I made it my duty to stay focused, review the content right after the class, and try my best to just always, again, put my best foot forward. And then specializing as a pediatrician, thankfully, we were able to work and study. And so I didn't really have that major financial bill to meet because I was making a salary at that point in time. And so that for me was not as difficult as when I was coming through, the undergraduate program, etc. We are always learning. We are always learning. I'm doing my master's now in neonatology with the University of Southampton in the UK. And I do plan to go after another master's in public health because I believe that you have to continually improve that which you know so that you can always be up to date and again, always offer your patient that which is best. As it relates to time, medical school, 5 years, internship, 1 year, Doctors of Medicine degree in pediatrics, 4 years, Masters in neonatology, 2 years, Masters in public health can take about 18 months, and the list can go on and on. But again, I paused in my life to make time for love, to make time to have my children. And so I always encourage anyone within the medical field to always make time for you and for your family. As a physician, there's so many lessons that I've learned, both from the practice of medicine, from my patients, from my colleagues. You are always learning. If you have ever reached that point where you think that you have ascertained everything, then you've made a big mistake. Believe it or not, even though I wanted to do pediatrics, there was a point in my career where I said I would never do pediatrics. And that was during internship. I found it difficult to get some procedures done. And I said, you know what, this is not for me. And my mind then turned towards being an internist, that physician who specializes in the care of adult patients, looking at, of course, the internal organs with emphasis. But at the end of the day, I realized, no, this is what I want to do and it's not going to overcome me. And so I started to read around my patients. I started to observe how others practiced. And at the end of my internship period, I was the best intern in pediatrics after starting out as being probably one of the worst interns in the program at the time. So again, I've learned that it doesn't matter how you start, but the important part is how you finish. And I'm not yet finished, but I think I'm going well so far. I look forward to the day where in Antigua and Barbuda, that irrespective of the facility to which you present yourself, whether public or private, that you'll get the same standard of care. That is my dream. I still have in the back of my mind, and I guess it's coming to the front of my mind, that I will have a pediatric hospital here in Antigua and Barbuda, which is able to cater to all of the needs of our children. Again, that's a big dream, right? But as has been quoted by Ellen Shirleaf, if your dreams don't scare you, it's because they're not big enough. And so that's a dream that scares me, but I'm hoping that it will be actualized one day, to have a pediatric hospital here in Antigua and Barbuda. But at the end of the day, I want no one in Antigua to be left behind. I'm very passionate right now about persons of differing abilities. And I'm hoping that the perspective in Antigua and Barbuda will change and that we'll have an open mind. God has been more than good. I'm so thankful for how He has helped me, and I know that He will continue to be with me for as long as I have breath.